Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today I'm going to make an ice-dyed spiral with a little bit of liquid on top. As usual, I washed and dried the shirt, then I soaked it in a soda ash solution for 20 to 30 minutes, wrung it out of my Panda spin dryer, turned it inside out, and it's just barely damp. I'm using a fork to begin my spiral, and as I turn the fork one direction, I'm using my hand to form additional folds in the shirt. Once the shirt is entirely folded, I'm going to hold the folds in place with some rubber bands. Since I'm going to ice dye this shirt, I'm going to make myself an ice barrier out of some silicone cake molds. I have a link down below in the description for where I purchased these cake molds. All of the colors that I'm going to use on this shirt are Pro Chemical and dye colors, and I'll list them down below in the description for the video. I'm starting with Spicy Plum, and I'm adding about 4 different lines of Spicy Plum on the shirt. I'm going to make the lines fairly thin. The next color is Dusty Purple. I'm going to add about 4 lines of the Dusty Purple to the shirt as well. If you'll notice, I'm kind of avoiding the middle of the spiral. The reason why I'm doing that is if I start all of the colors in the middle of the spiral, or I take each color down into the middle, because quite a bit of dye comes off of my spoon as I'm applying it to the shirt, I'll end up with a big blob of dye right in the middle of the shirt, which is going to muddy up the colors right in the middle of the spiral. I don't want that, so I'm trying to avoid the middle of the spiral with the dye colors. Some will run down into that area later as the shirt is processing, but for now I'm trying to avoid adding a lot of dye to that area. The next color I'm adding is Old Rose. From here, as I get more colors on the shirt, I'm going to have to add them a little bit more randomly. Right now I'm adding this color right up next to the Spicy Plum. And if you'll notice, this dye is a little bit different consistency or texture. It's a lot softer of a powder, so it is more clumpy and a little bit harder to get off my spoon than the other 2 colors. You'll find that with some dyes, they're not all exactly the same consistency. I just applied the rose wine, and now I'm adding Grecian Rose. The first time I used some of these rose and purple colors from Pro Chemical and Dye, when I opened them up, they were green, and that really surprised me. I wasn't quite sure about them, but I went ahead and trusted them, and they split really pretty. You will have some green on your shirt though, so if you don't want green, I would steer away from these purple shades. Almost all of these are fairly new colors. I just made color swatches for most of them last week. Next is Rosebud. Here again, this color is a little bit more of a soft color like the Old Rose. It's a little tougher to get off of the spoon. For lack of a better description, it's maybe the consistency of, say, cake flour or a super fine flour. And the last color is Wisteria. I'm going to try to fill in any of the large blank spaces with this color. Okay, now I'm going to add a little bit of additional soda ash to the top of the shirt, just to make sure that as the ice melts and runs through the shirt, there's still plenty of soda ash remaining in the shirt to react with the dye. And now I'm going to load on the ice. I put the shirt aside and I allowed all the ice to melt on the shirt. After the ice was melted, there was still just a little bit of dye remaining on top of the shirt, so I went ahead and added a second layer of ice and allowed it to melt. After the second layer of ice melted, I used some liquid Stormy Sky from Pro Chemical and Dye, and I applied that lightly over all of the front of the shirt and the back of the shirt. Then I put the shirt aside and I allowed it to process for 24 hours. To rinse the shirt, I took it to my utility sink and I began rinsing in cold water to rinse out any of the soda ash that was remaining in the shirt. Then I gradually warmed the water up to hot to rinse out any of the dye that didn't react with the fabric. Once the water was running almost clear, I took the shirt and put it into my washing machine and washed it on a hot cycle along with a little bit of Dharma's textile detergent. And after the shirt was washed and dried, this is what it looks like. So what do you guys think? I really like this shirt. Like I said earlier, most of these are new colors from Pro Chemical and Dye, and even though I made color swatches last week, I've only ice dyed with maybe one or two of them before. So this was kind of a fun experiment to see how they were going to split. I heard somebody say that if you want good color split colors from Pro Chemical and Dye, choose colors that have either the word old or spicy or dusty in their name. And they weren't wrong. All of these colors did split really well. I'm a little surprised by the spicy plum. I thought it would be more purple and instead it's a little bit more red. But I think it's a cool color. I like that color. And if you notice, because I didn't add a whole lot of dye down into the center of the spiral, it didn't get muddied. It is a nice clear spiral. I also like the Stormy Sky that I put over the top. I like the fact that it gives some definition, but it doesn't overwhelm the shirt. If I would have put a darker color like black on top, it would have been a lot more prominent in the shirt. Overall, I really like the shirt, but drop me a comment down below and let me know what you think. And if you enjoyed this video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.